There are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Grinding Gear Games are not adhering to the release cadence they publicly stated they would for Path of Exile 2 all the way back in April of 2025. There's now set to be 168 days between expansions 0.4 and 0.5, Return of the Ancients. This is pissing PoE2 players off on both ends of the spectrum. It's sad. Very sad. They broke their promises. They keep lying. One side shouts, "Stop complaining. They are the best devs around. We have it so good." The polar opposite camp retorts, "As always, in almost every walk of life, there's a clear middle ground, a more sturdy stance here. It's far more nuanced a discussion than many make it out to be. And instead of rage baiting or praise baiting," new term I'm coining, by the way, "from either side and fueling the drama fire, in this video, I'd like to bring down the temperature of both sides, hopefully, while also outlining why Grinding Gear Games might be taking a misstep with extremely loud and popular proclamations with Path of Exile 2, but with the caveat that if they change this, the monkey's paw might curl. Like and subscribe if you like this Path of Exile 2 content and would like to keep Talkative try Talkative. First of all, players who are mad, annoyed, or disappointed about this delay for 0.5, they have a point. It does suck that Grinding Gear Games keeps making these sweeping, definite statements and are falling short on them. Even I, a massive Grinding Gear Games fanboy, completely understands that. We must remember, Grinding Gear Games perfected their league release cadence a long time ago with Path of Exile 1 and attributed their success to it, and recently readopted it for Path of Exile 2 and 1 in April of last year. It was actually announced in my interview with Jonathan Rogers, the second most popular video on my channel. It was the famous and now infamous "lock dates, not content" line from Jonathan Rogers. This initially was something that they coined with the help of Kripparrian all the way back in the earlier days of Path of Exile 1. They were releasing leagues ad hoc and at random and really just trying to grab onto something that would work for their game. And Krip went to Chris Wilson and said, "You need to lock down a schedule and your game will grow." They listened to Krip, they locked down a schedule, they were releasing updates every 3 months back then, and every single patch brought back more and more players because players trusted Grinding Gear Games to release a banger expansion league after league, and if it wasn't their cup of tea, they would come back 3 months later to play the next one. It was so simple, but it was absolute genius. And we really thought we were going to get this again with both PoE 1 and PoE 2, and it just hasn't happened. There's been delay after delay, if not for dates, then for content. And these players who are upset, they are upset because Grinding Gear Games are consistently inconsistent with their release schedule and the content within each release. And let's be real, people love this game so much they like to plan vacation or their lives around it sometimes. That's honestly okay in today's age. If you want to take PTO for a game release, that's fine. I do that for Path of Exile 2. And lots of other people do too, and they like the consistency here. And 0.5 is not the first example of this. They delayed the launch of 0.1 from June to November, and then from November to December. There was, of course, the whole Path of Exile 1 debacle, and then there was the "we're gonna ship the Druid, oh, we need to delay the Druid, we're gonna ship a brand new endgame, we need to delay the endgame." And understandably, some players are just a bit annoyed at that. It begs the question in my eyes, something that you should really think on and maybe leave a comment below on your opinion with this. Would you prefer Grinding Gear Games be silent and only speak when actually ready, or not promise any exact timeline or some other change up in their comms? Let's be real, that's what a lot of other game development studios do. Don't worry, I'll give my take in a moment. So then there's the let them cook. Those who disagree with me are whiners camp. Players who think Grinding Gear Games should take all the time they need to make each Path of Exile 2 patch as good as possible, and in essence, they are correct. That is what grinding your game should strive to do when it comes to the game's actual development. However, what's also not often brought up here is the context grinding your games has that we don't. They know everything happening behind the scenes. We don't, and people really need to think about that. Remember, they have a whole pipeline they have to go through in record time here for a game development studio. They have to conceptualize ideas, present them to various teams, create initial prototypes, test those prototypes, iterate on them, test them again, further iterate, present them to other teams, throw out what doesn't work and replace it, create new prototypes to replace them, get buy-in, test them, and on until it's time to finally ship them, and then it's likely they will break upon shipping. So many things can go wrong in this type of development, and that's only looking at game development here. I'll bring this up over and over because I know there's a lot of people who have real jobs like myself that experience this. We run a website and we struggle to get through sprints and ship updates to the website on a 6-month schedule, and I have like a 60-person company. Writing your games is like 250 people, and that's everybody. It's not just counting game designers and software developers. That's everybody at the company, and they ship massive updates to Path of Exile 2 every 4 to 6 months. And then there's the dedicated team for Path of Exile 1 too. I'm sorry, but that is insane. So then you have to remember grinding your games also operates in a greater market and business sense here. There are other game releases that they have to care about. We're talking about Diablo 4 in April or Grand Theft Auto 9 in November. They have events scheduled like ExileCon in November. They had shareholders to report to in Tencent. And there's a bunch happening that we're not privy to that may have contributed to the shaky release schedule. Then there's the big obvious thing to me, and I've seen other people talking about it too, but they are struggling to make this game and still figuring things out when it comes to the development pipeline and just the overall game balance and design. It is incredibly obvious that they did not expect the reception to Path of Exile 2 in 0.1 or then in 0.2, and they're still playing catch up from back then. They didn't anticipate how much work would go into iterating existing classes, developing new classes, adding in entire new leagues. I'm sure they thought they could just pop in the Wisp-like mechanics into each point patch leading up to 1.0 and save those Giga Leagues like the Temple and like Abyss League until the 1.0 launch. That did not happen for whatever reason. Really seems like this early access game is not it's not being treated like an early access game. It is an excellent game. They are doing a phenomenal job with it, but it's basically a fully released product at this point with loot boxes and supporter packs and an in-game cash shop. So laying all this out, it again brings this question to the surface. Are they handling communication properly when it comes to updates to a community? Here's my take. And Gazzy, if you're watching this, I want to make clear, this is my opinion, okay? A little bit of a throwback. While I think their method of communication is better than basically every other game studio I've seen, and they're doing a good job, there's two things I think are really pissing off players that they could avoid while they're juggling the stress of getting Path of Exile 2 development cadences and releases right. But it might be a bit of a monkey's paw situation. Problem number one, they're speaking in absolutes. I think that is a death sentence in a community as anal as this. And problem number two, they are over-promising and under-delivering in some scenarios. I'd actually like to rephrase this as over-promising and under-shipping. I'm thinking of the Druid and the endgame being delayed to subsequent updates. When they actually do deliver something, it's usually pretty awesome. So what problem do I have with fixing those two problems? Well, here's the big but, Exiles. The monkey's paw. If they would commit to this, to not speaking in absolutes and to stop over-promising and under-delivering, what many of us, including myself, love about grinding your games would vanish. It would fade away very fast. The Jonathan rambles, the Mark hyping, the excitement in the community, the developer interviews, I think we would lose it. All this stuff that they're held to, these are moments of raw passion that emerge from the developers speaking to the community without a script. They don't have a PowerPoint presentation in front of them, a deck, if you will, and they're not reading line by line. They are in the moment. They are talking to the interviewer and answering honestly questions, how they feel they're going to handle them as a studio. And you know what? That's pretty awesome, and that's not something I want to see go away. Do the delays suck? 100%. Would I prefer it to be more consistent, as they said it would be? 100%. Do I think the expansion is going to be awesome? 100%. Though, my advice to everyone on either end of the polar opposite spectrum and everyone in the middle is to do one thing, and one thing alone. It's to give grace to either sides and people with differing opinions, and to the developers themselves. To those pissed about the delay, understand grinding your games communicates a heck of a lot more than other companies. They are passionate, they are raw, they are unscripted, and sometimes they utter stuff that does not pan out to be true. And yeah, that sucks, but I wouldn't trade it for the alternative. And to those saying to let grinding your games cook, and those who are mad about the delay are just whiners and aren't respecting the developers, well, understand these people, these players, take grinding your games at their word, and they're just disappointed they cannot play a game when they thought they would. A game they're passionate about. Everyone, just relax, chill out a bit. We have a little bit of time. After all, we're just talking about Path of Exile 2, a game we love to love and sometimes hate on. Like my videos on screen right now. Check those out, everybody.